Hello, Herlighters. It's Erin Foley back in the booth talking women's sports. Thank you to everyone who came out this past weekend for the live shows in Chicago and Minneapolis. I had an absolute blast and I didn't know what to expect. And I was kind of nervous and I felt underprepared. But then, of course, I was like over prepared. And the whole thing was one giant, amazing, fun, awesome learning experience. Huge special thanks to my guests, Annie Costable, who joined me in Chicago, Nicole Hensley, who joined me in Minneapolis. Pardon the pun. They just knocked it out of the park. They had amazing insights and great stories, and I loved it. The crowd loved it. And I cannot wait to do the next one, which is right around the corner. I'll be in New York City with soccer icon Ali Krieger. I mean, I can't pinch me. Holy crap. It's going to be an amazing night. Saturday, November 9th, 7 p.m. at the Green Room 42. We're going to be talking about Ali's amazing career, what she's working on now, life off the field. So get your tickets ASAP because this is going to sell out. All the information and ticket link is on herlights.com. Let's do this. Okay, today's episode, super fun. Oh my God. Good friend, hilarious stand-up comic, Bridget McManus, is back on the show. And so you know that means it's going to be silly and ridiculous. We are reviewing a new reality show called The Off Season, which features 11 NWSL players, professional women's soccer players, living in a house in Miami for 3 weeks during, you guessed it, the off season. The 6-episode half-hour series follows them training, partying, living together. Quote, for the first time in sports history, some of the best players, rivals, and teammates across a league are living in one house with uncensored access to their personal stories, interpersonal relationships, and on-field journey. Oh, yes. Bring it on. Okay, so the cool thing is that the creator and EP is Midge Purce. As some of you will know, she's a forward for Gotham FC. They won the championship last season. She was the MVP of the finals. I mean, she's an incredible player. She's also on the national team. So she teamed up with Alexis Ohanian, Serena Williams' husband, who is, I mean, investing so much in women's sports. It's so feel good. So he funds the series. And then the reality TV producer, Alex Baskin of Real Housewives fame, directed it. Now, listen, I didn't know what to expect, and we're going to break it all down in this episode, but Bridget and I really liked it. And it's not like a reality TV like trash festival, although I do love those. In fact, I think the off season could use more drama and a little bit more trash, and maybe we'll get to see that. But honestly, the players are really likable and the stories are really compelling. And I'm telling you, you don't have to be a huge soccer fan to enjoy it. So we're covering the first 2 episodes, which are out right now, and you can see them on Twitter. We'll get into that. But it's super fun. So let's jump right in. Here's what we're going to do. We're going to do overall thoughts
Okay.
on the concept of the show.
Okay.
Just overall thoughts. And then we'll do some nerdy deep dives. We,
Okay.
you know, we got 2 episodes to review.
Mhm.
Hit it, Bridget.
Awesome. 11 women in the house, sports goddesses. I am learning things. When does that ever happen? They seem like lovely people. They're so open about which we'll talk about, their salaries and their frustrations. And they seem vulnerable and they seem smart and they're the best of the best. It's like a reality show where people are being their best versus every other reality show.
Yeah, it took me, I have to say, yes to all of that. I'm in, I'm hooked. I'm super excited that this type of programming finally exists. I was kind of, just based on some of the teasers, I thought it was going to be like, oh, drama, champagne, someone's, fucking someone. And believe me, I'm ready for that.
Hope that
It's not like
happens.
I'm not ready for that. But no, I thought it was done in such, the storytelling is really good. It's not cheesy. It's not like women behaving badly or like catty women in a house. Like, this is the first time we've seen female athletes in any like reality show format like this. And I think, first of all, hats off to Midge Purce
Oh,
for
Midge.
doing this. For
How
doing
much do you
this.
love Midge? I love her. I might have to get a shirt.
Yeah. I mean, she is the EP. This is her idea. And also huge congrats to Alexis Ohanian, Serena Williams' husband, who has just stepped up and invested in women's sports like none other,
Smart
especially for a
guy.
dude. I love him.
Yeah.
And it's fun. The stories are great. And also I want to live in the house, and let's talk about the chefs.
Two chef, two, how does this happen? Why can't we do this? Is it because we're not athletes? Is that what's going on? They're
I
nice
think it's
looking gentlemen too. They
they
seem like
are.
very nice looking gentlemen.
Do you think anyone's going to hook up with the chef?
No, I hope they all hook up with each other. I hope all the rooms combine together. Like you said, the trailer was them in like short shirts being toasting, going to frenemies. And I was like, oh, this is going to be terrible. But that's not what it is at all. But it makes sense they're athletes that they'd have chefs there. I just am very jealous. All the food they are making, half of me watching it is like, what are they eating? That's like
Oh my God, it's
is.
absolute food porn. I'm like, oh my God, they get up and they don't, of course, they shouldn't have to think it. They're professional athletes.
Yeah.
They're there to train in the off season. I guess I think it was like a little bit, probably in a good way. Obviously, it has to be compelling, of a bait and switch of like some of the trailer, and then it felt pretty almost like wholesome.
Yeah, it did seem wholesome.
You know what I mean? Of like, they're there to get better. And like, the big reveal of like, what's going to happen in episode 2 was like an old lady tarot card reader, which we'll get to because you've
Elaine.
done Elaine. Listeners, if you haven't seen the show, don't worry. We'll talk you through it. But also, if you have any interest in like, not even, you don't even have to be a crazy soccer fan to enjoy this. This is just like, they go into some of the players' backstory more in episode 2, which I really enjoyed. But it was just kind of interesting. I'm going to say this. So the timing of this show is kind of interesting, right? So it came out 2 weeks ago, or no, it came out last week, right? It came out last week. And some of the players have been traded. There's been injuries. So it's kind of interesting to see these players before the season starts, knowing some of their story,
Yeah.
that they don't even know what's going to happen. Like, that's pretty wild. Like, 3 big examples. Paige Nielsen, who I was obsessed with. She's, as an ACFC, like, season ticket holder. She's like one of our big stars. She gets traded mid-season to Houston. And I think I spoke about this on one of the earlier podcasts. The crazy thing was all the Instagram lesbians being like, we traded the lesbian to Houston. It's not safe. And then Houston lesbians being like, it's fine. We'll protect her. And I was like, it was amazing. Just amazing content. Maria Sanchez, who they highlight, especially in the second episode, she got a $1.5 million deal from Houston.
That's the biggest deal ever. Yeah.
Biggest deal ever. She literally forced a trade to San Diego mere weeks later after this, after they filmed this. So that was kind of mind blowing. And Midge Purce, the EP, the narrator, essentially the host of the house, she goes down with an ACL injury game 1 at Gotham. And we know that she stayed at Gotham.
Yeah, she didn't.
So
trade.
one of the storylines is like, the cliffhanger, it was like, I might leave Gotham. So that is kind of like a little bit of a bummer that we know some of these storylines headed in, but it was still fun to watch.
Johnny Weir remember his figure skater, had a reality show about him going to the Olympics, and then the Olympics happened, and then they aired it. And so this whole thing was like, I hope I do well. And he came in like 6th or whatever. And so then I had to interview him on the red carpet and talk about like the reality show, but it didn't matter because it happened like 6 months before. So it's kind of strange on the timing. Yeah. But I'm still invested, and I want them to have a slumber party and a pillow fight with no shirts on.
Listen, as 2 card-carrying lesbians watching this show, I absolutely want somebody to make out with somebody. I mean, that's
going to happen.
I don't know.
Well, Nikki's she said that she's in her like boy phase right now.
Nikki's in her boy phase.
I feel like Nikki's going to go to her girl phase in the next, 2 weeks of this show's happening.
Yeah.
She's one of those girls that needs attention.
Oh my God. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So let's jump right into Nikki and Midge. In the first episode, we can't even make this up. They get stuck in an elevator for almost 2.5 hours.
Wait,
this is the first moments of the show. They're stuck in an elevator. It was bizarre.
Me so mad that they were just hanging out and talking. It was a glass day. Their friends were like coming in and saying hi, and they're just one's like, Nikki's like, I have to pee. Oh, we're gonna get out of here. And the first thing I thought was, where are the fire women? Well, here's probably what they really look like. They were just so chill hanging out, and I'm screaming to Carmen. Carmen's in the other room, like, what's wrong? I'm like, where's the fire department? And she's like, what's going on? And I was like, oh no, I'm watching this internet show. But it makes no sense. Like, people are trapped in an elevator for 5 minutes, they call the fire department. Where's the fire department, Erin? 2 hours. They were in there for 2 hours.
It was inexplicable that right now, listeners, Bridget's holding up hot pictures of lady
hot.
firefighters.
And
One's just in a bra and in an axe.
You know what? As long as she's putting the fire
I will
out.
Start a fire if that one shows up at my door.
This one is starting a fire. This one's putting it out.
A fire.
There's like a real firefighter. No, they were so nonchalant about it. They were like,
this is the opening moments to a TV show, and the host and one of the, like, you know, probably leads, because she does need a lot of attention, are stuck in an elevator nonchalantly for over 2 hours. I literally was like, don't you just stop filming and call someone and get them out immediately? It was
a small elevator.
It was a tiny elevator. My mind was blown where I was like, this is the host of the show. You know, I don't watch a lot of reality TV, but I do watch The Bachelor, Bachelorette. And this is like Jesse Palmer of The Bachelorette being like, everybody, welcome to the mansion. And all of a sudden he gets stuck in an elevator. And then people are just wandering in.
They're like, oh, that's bizarre. Crazy. Yeah, the girls are showing up and they see them in the elevator like, oh, that's crazy. Where's my room? And then I was like, this is, you know, reality shows, they stage things. But they show the producer come over, they hear the audio 2 hours later, go like, oh yeah, the mechanic's on his way. And I was like, the mechanic's on his way. You get an axe and you get out. I would have been screaming. It was I wouldn't even classify as an elevator.
It's like a tiny British lift.
It was a British lift. That's what it was. It was a British lift.
It was a British lift in a Miami. First of all, the house is gorgeous.
It's beautiful.
The house is beautiful. They have a swimming pool. They have a hot tub. They have 2 chefs. Every single person that's watching the show is like, I want to live in the house.
There's a lot of midriffs, which I understand. Although midriffs make me uncomfortable. We can talk about that later.
All right, let's talk about this. Okay. One of the main storylines in episode 1 was pay equality and just contracts. And I thought it was such a good discussion between Paige Nielsen and Lo LaBonta from Kansas City. Now, Lo was like a superstar in NWSL League, superstar at Stanford. And so interesting that she does not have an agent. She said she's like fought for her salary her entire career. And she's like, honestly, one of the best players in the league. I did read up on this. She did get a new contract before the season. So I don't know if we'll see that play out in this series. I hope it's the big one. The biggest one she's ever had. But that discussion around the table and that discussion between Lo and Paige, how Lo came into the league, I don't know, probably 2012 or 13 at the start of the NWSL. And she said at one point she wasn't even the highest paid on her team. She was like one of the lowest people paid on an 11, on the starting 11. I was like, oh my God, that was mind blowing.
Yeah, it was upsetting. And I mean, she was so nice about it. She was like, I want everyone to thrive and make as much money as possible, but it's gotta tear her down. I mean, was she the one? Yeah, that was saying, I think this was episode 2, was saying that she tried to get it negotiated and they were like, no. Oh no, that was Midge. They tried, after she won something, she was like, no, Gotham didn't want to. Just crazy.
It was a couple different really interesting storylines. Paige Nielsen was talking about, they were talking about like self-worth, self-esteem, fighting on your own behalf with not a lot of money to go around, quote unquote. And Midge Purce, her big storyline was, does she stay at Gotham for the next season versus she wouldn't reveal the team, but there was a team out there that wanted to pay her a lot of money. But so she's struggling. Does she stay at Gotham? Because Gotham in the offseason so they won it all in 2023. And then They win it. So Midge Purce was the MVP of the 2023 season. Gotham wins the NWSL championships. Then in the off season, they get Rosa Lavelle, Emily Sonnet, and Crystal Dunn, 3 or 4 top U.S. women's national team players. So she's deciding, do I stay at Gotham? But they're not willing her to get, they're definitely not willing to give her like high ceiling money, probably because in the budget they also had to acquire all these national team players. Or does she jump ship to a, I'm probably going to I'm guessing right now, a lower level team like a Utah, a Bay FC. I don't even know. Maybe, well, I'm just trying to think of like another team that's sort of like scrapping right now. I don't know. You know what I'm talking about. Like a team that's, arguably like, 10, 11, 12 in the league, but they want to pay her a Houston, they want to pay her a ton of money then to be the face of that franchise.
Yeah. I mean, she talked about that with her, I don't know if you're on the phone with her manager or it was her
brother.
Was her brother. They talk about that, like, what do you want next? And she's like, a championship. It's like, okay, well, you want a championship? And she's like, but I want money. And it's like, well, you might be able to go to get money, but you might never see a championship again. So what's the most important thing for you right now?
Yeah, I thought that was super interesting because definitely on Midge's mind, and she's obviously an entrepreneur. She was just like, oh, I'm getting paid. I want to, I want my, I want the money. All of them were, it was an interesting point too. Like they have a very finite window of making money. And then it's like, they're also sitting around the table, like, would you coach? Would you be a GM? There aren't like a ton of opportunities after you retire. So you have to maximize. And of course, it's not like, I hate comparing it to like, men's sports, but they're okay. They're financially set when they leave. You know what I mean? So,
and all the commentary, and now he bought part of the Raiders, and I just want to punch him in the fucking face.
So it was interesting. So I'm watching this as like a reality show, right? And it's like champagne yachts, like piece, of the trailer of them, like, okay, like frenemies. And I'm like, this is a really heartfelt discussion about pay equality in NWSL. I thought that was just unexpected, and I loved it. I absolutely loved it.
And it's no one's being embarrassing. They're just having honest conversations, and I just like them all. You don't ever have that in a reality show. There's 11 people, and all of them, and they're being real. And of course, they know where each other's coming from, and they're the top of their field. It's great. It's only 30-minute episodes, so people that are listening, you should watch this.
Definitely. And I thought right after those moments of like some really heartfelt, conversations about years in the league and pay equality, they should get drunk and make out. You know what I mean? Like I just feel like there needs to be a better balance.
I would make out with Taylor, and I don't understand why Taylor decided to wear jewelry to the first practice.
Taylor, okay, so we're talking about Taylor Smith, Gotham FC. I think she's a defender. She's hot.
She's so hot.
She's super sexy. A lot of jewelry, a little bit high maintenance, and I loved.
Super high maintenance, was putting cologne on before to go to practice. Like they're 15 minutes late because of Taylor. Everyone was like, let's go. And she's like, which sliders should I wear? And it's like, get in the car, Taylor. Get in the car.
This is their first practice. Midge is on the field, losing her shit. And Taylor's like planning out her outfit. And she's like a little butch, like adorable lesbo.
I want to share a room with Taylor. She seems like a very nice person.
Okay. So who are your, I'm going to give you some really hard-hitting journalistic questions. Who are the top 3 that you would want to, if you weren't married to Carmen, run away with?
Oh, sex only would be Taylor, because I don't know what I can deal with the maintenance. I want to have philosophical conversations with Lo. I don't think we need to have sex. I think we can just like stare into each other's eyes and meaningful conversations. And Nikki seems insane, and so I'm down with Nikki. Nikki seems insane. I feel like she pulled the button in the elevator and was like, let's stay here for 2 hours. So she's a wild card. So I think that'd be a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah. There's I guess it's different scenarios of like who you settle down with, who you take to Vegas with. You know what I mean? So
You
those are
married.
different. I
Okay, who's your
think I think Michelle Alozzi is so beautiful. It's crazy. She plays for Houston. She is stunning. She's my number one. Um, the person I definitely absolutely want to like sit down with and just talk is Low. Absolutely. I've been a fan of her game for so long, and she's just interesting. Like her backstory, going to Stanford. Her parents are like, she got an engineering degree. They're like education, education, and all of a sudden she like has a quick pivot and is like, no, I'm going to double down on soccer and all the pressure she was under to leave like an education degree at Stanford. All these women are like, their stories are so interesting of what they gave up, you know. Um, and then, who's my third? I mean, Taylor. I love Taylor.
I don't need her every night of the week.
Yeah, I love Iffy.
Oh, Iffy's great. Iffy's great.
I also think Kelly
Kelly's,
Hubley,
Kelly's great.
a fun Vegas drunk weekend. I probably pick Kelly.
Maria's too quiet for me. That's not my jam.
Maria Sanchez. Let's just discuss her. We can go in episode 1 and episode 2.
Just
I'm
disgusting.
telling everybody right now what I knew of Maria Sanchez. I saw her play a little bit in 2023 in Houston. Um, I saw the big deal, $1.5 million. I'm like, oh my God. Um, not a ton of familiarity with all these NWSL players. It's like pretty much ACFC. And then I watch like bigger games and playoffs and stuff. I'm not like, my diehardness is probably with the US women's national team. And I'm like learning and growing with the NWSL. So then I see the trade. It's like Sanchez demands a trade, so she leaves Houston. I was like, what? Houston just gave her like a $1.5 million, right? So I was like, okay. So then she goes to San Diego again. Probably saw her in a couple of games. Um, Kind of touted as this prolific goal scorer, but she's not in the top like even 20 of goal scoring. She's in top with assists. Um, and so I have like really no opinion. I'm just like, oh, okay. Like I clocked her, that's about it. Like I know how good she is, but when you see this series, this is why the series, like people need to watch this. Her story is so incredible that I wrote down, I have to get a jersey.
Yeah.
I like immediately fell in love with her.
Her
I
parents, her parents, I have never seen her play professional. Like it's just crazy.
Yeah.
How much do you love her?
It's such a compelling story. Okay, so she's, born and raised in Mexico, and then her parents, so she just signs this huge contract, right? And her parents are her dad, I think they're both working in a potato factory, right? 14 hours her dad, 8 hours her mom, and they've never, they didn't want her to play soccer. She snuck out of the house to play because they were like, no, women don't play with men, like girls don't play with boys, and the only thing she could do is like play with boys, play for to get experience playing soccer. She sneaks out of the house. Her parents have never seen her play professionally. They're asking her in this question with this like one-on-one, reality. She just couldn't even answer. She was started crying. I'm like sobbing. And then the footage of her paying off her parents' mortgage.
Oh,
Oh
I
my
just
God.
got chills. Yeah, just I
It
feel
was
like her mom
amazing.
had a moment where she was like, "Wait, what's happening?" And her
Yeah.
dad like, "No, this is what just happened." And
Yeah.
this is not enough money to like never let for you guys never to work again because of course she wants to take care of them forever. But paying off their mortgage, I mean, that just must have felt like the best thing. And she just bought herself a house. Oh, she was buying herself a house in Houston, so she must have
Yes.
sold it if she moved to San Diego. Because like,
Yeah.
the reason she was late a day was because she was like closing on that house or buying this house or something.
Which begs the question, like, what happened in Houston? You know
I
what I
mean,
mean? $1.5 million, you're buying a house. And then all of a sudden, I remember clocking it, but I don't exactly remember the details. I'll have to go back and look up and see. But like Houston has gone through like the coach basically stopped showing up mid-season. Like there's some wild story. Like maybe she just clocked the complete dysfunction and was like demanded a trade. I don't know what happened. But I tell you, Maria Sanchez, like an absolutely incredible story. And Iffy was talking about having Nigerian parents. She plays for Utah. Also, the decision she made to leave Gotham to go to Utah, being the only person of color probably in Utah.
State of Utah.
But, and Nigerian parents like not wanting her to even play, like,
There's three jobs you can have with the Nigerian parents: doctor, lawyer, and engineer. So they were like just totally against her playing soccer.
yeah. Yeah. So I was kind of blown away by these storylines thinking, I mean, it is a reality show, but I think it's really well done. You know, again, I'll take a little bit more Jersey Shore in there, not gonna lie. But I love this balance of seeing them play, seeing them practice, whatever, and they're talking about injuries and they're talking about pay equality. And then hearing these stories of you really get to know them. And I think that's huge. As I'm saying this out loud, I think this is huge because women, I think, watch games differently, And if you're not a crazy soccer fan, but you get hooked into a player, then you're ride or die with them. And I think this needs to happen for, this off-season show needs to happen every single year with a different set of people. The WNBA obviously there's got to be reality shows happening right now.
Just going to be my porn reel. If it's the WNBA, a bunch of those women in the house, they got to extend the ceilings because they're so tall. Ooh, ooh, ooh. Just got really warm in here, didn't it?
But Bridget, you said this at the beginning when we were recording, but I mean, now you're hooked in, right?
Oh, and I'm not like you are with sports. Like, you know everything. You're so knowledgeable. Like, I'll pay attention when someone tells me to, or someone's like, I got a free ticket to Angel City. I go, okay. Like, I watch, the NFL and I do watch the WNBA, but I don't really pay attention. But now I'm absolutely hooked on the show. I think it's fantastic. And I love these women. And I just didn't, the fact that they talk about what they talk about so sincerely and they're having like real conversations and nobody's being drama. Like, this show should be on ESPN. Why is it just on X?
Yeah, so I did a little nerdy deep dive while I was on Twitter. And the fact that it's on Twitter is horrifying on one hand, obviously, because Elon Musk is disgusting and his overall views of women and political views are super gross. But I read on I think it was like a Reddit deep dive that they wanted the first season to have as much creative control as possible.
Okay.
And they didn't go for some big media deal. They wanted to do the show that they wanted to do. And you can see some of the integrity of it, of these thoughtful conversations. And then proof of concept, this is what we want to do. And then hopefully season 2 and beyond on a, possibly Peacock or Paramount Plus is, I'm sure, wanting to get their hands on that because they're very dedicated to partnering with the NWSL. So I'm assuming, I know that's just something I read, but that sounds like a very viable answer why they're on Twitter.
I mean, it makes sense. The vision is really clear and they come across so well. That makes,
yeah.
Of course they did it themselves. They're like, hey, we're professionals. We want to keep our jobs and look good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, if it was a network, it would be terrible. You're so right. It makes total sense.
Yeah, when I saw that, I was like, oh, that's good. Yeah. Do I want a little drama turn up? Yes, I do. Absolutely. I want some drama turn up. But we got a little bit of drama in the episode too. Although the moment when Nikki, who got trapped in the elevator in episode 1, can't open the front door, that made me laugh really hard. I was like, Nikki doesn't need to go around elevators or doors at this point. She just couldn't get out of the door. And I'm like, dear God, she needs a handler, but I love her. She makes fantastic television. So she's in charge of the tarot card reading, and in comes Elaine. And I'm thinking the whole time, what does Bridget think who you are? You've done a session for me where you somehow spoke to my maternal grandmother.
I was accurate though, right?
You were accurate. I'm telling you, listeners, Bridget has no joke, some serious skills. And I thought, oh my God, here comes Elaine. What did you think about the tarot card reading?
I do hear dead people. I have for a very long time. I used to talk to my grandmother all the time. So it seems like a strange thing. I only do it for friends and people that desperately need help. But It's a weird thing to have. I don't know. But as soon as Elaine came out, I was like, I don't know who this lady is. I mean, tarot is different than being a psychic medium. It is different. But she came out and I was like, she's like, I'm looking for Nikki. I'm like, you don't even know who you're looking for, you terrible psychic. And then she's like, we're a bunch of soccer players. She's like, oh, okay. And then she was kept talking about like, you guys have a lot of guy friends. And I was like, Elaine, get the fuck out. And Elaine was terrible. She's like, oh, I'm going to show up in a scarf and a long dress. I'm a tarot reader. I was like, you don't even fucking look like a tarot reader. I
Yeah.
was offended. My people were offended.
Won't.
Elaine needs to be fired. I don't know who hired her.
Elaine is an extra. Am I right? Elaine, I was like, she's got a room full of women. She's like, who clearly, what I sensed about all these women is like they really rely on each other. They're super competitive. They like bring out the best in each other. These women don't, they're powerful, they're independent. And she flips over her card and she's like, you guys hang out with a lot of guys?
Stupid.
Like,
Everything she was saying was, I feel like she like worked at craft services and like, hey, we need a psychic right now. Here, put a like dress on, Jessica, and get over there, get on set. Like, just made no sense. And then they were saying that what was the one who wants to have a baby, that she might have twins?
Helly, yes.
$20 says she's not gonna have twins. Elaine doesn't know what the fuck she's talking about. Elaine probably was seeing double. She doesn't know. I was mad at Elaine. Bad casting.
Yeah, another thing, right? So Kelly Hubley of Portland Thorns, she declares after this tarot card reading, or she obviously knew before the tarot card reading, she's 29. She wants to have kids by 30. And I was like, okay, I want her to stay on the field for another 10 years, not have children, and keep playing. But I'm very selfish.
When Sydney LaRue had kids, I was devastated. People
I was
were
so
excited,
angry.
and I was like, sorry for my loss. I was super sad about that.
Thank you for bringing that up. Sydney LaRue is a dream sequence on and off the field. And
tattoos.
I've come full circle with Sydney LaRue. She was at the height of her playing career on the national team, one of the best in the world, gets pregnant, and that was really it for her.
Yep.
And I thought, my God, like this is what women are faced with. Professional athletes are faced with like the hugest decision. So then she had one, then she has two, never gets on the national team ever again. However, her kids are so adorable.
Of course they are.
Her relationship with them is so sweet. The Instagram of like them playing soccer. She looks like she's just like born to be a mom. It's so sweet. She's killing it at ACFC. I'm like, okay. It was selfish. It was when she got pregnant. It was a selfish comment, but I was devastated.
Here and say I didn't want her body to be ruined because I like that body covered in tattoos. I was like, she's the hottest person.
She's the hottest person to ever play soccer.
Babies, and I was like, well, aren't you selfish? Just kidding. Just kidding. Good for you, Sydney. I hope you're happy.
One more conversation that I really loved was Nikki, even though she's all over the place, which I kind of love. But she had that little one-on-one interview, and she was saying she has played soccer her entire life. Her whole identity is a soccer player. She said she's going to, in her mind, she's always like, I'll play as long as I'm having fun and my body holds up. Mm-hmm. And she's still having fun. Her body is still holding up. But she said, because she fears what she's going to have to do after she retires. She's like, who am I if I'm not a soccer player?
Yeah.
And I thought that was so interesting. It is. It's like, your whole life, you are this one thing, And I thought that was such an interesting, she's going through it. Yeah.
She talks about how she gave up so much. Like, I've missed weddings. I drove an hour and a half both ways to a practice. And then she said, people are always saying, what are you going to do next? And she said, you don't go to an accountant. What are you going to do after you're done being an accountant? Like, it's like people are just up in your face about that. And it is her identity, but it's like part of her soul and her character. Like, sports for you, like there are some people that can't not be artists, like some people are like, I want to be an artist, it's not going to work, and then they go do something else. Like, my wife is a musician no matter what. You are an artist no matter what. You are a sports person no matter what. Like, that's just who you are. If you get paid, if you don't, if you do good things, bad, whatever, like this is who she is. And I thought it was so great that she talked about like being vulnerable and I don't know who I am, because everyone
Yeah.
assumes they're superstars and they know exactly what they're doing and everyone's making millions of dollars. That's the whole thing. Everyone thinks everyone else is rich and successful when most people aren't.
Okay, so here's the wish. What's your wish list for the next set of episodes?
Oh my gosh, I want
What do you
more.
want to see? What do you want to see?
Well, I need to see some people. I need to see some kind of sexual tension. I'm sorry, I'm that kind of trashy person, but I need to see that. I need to have them talk about rivalries within, because I don't know enough about the individual teams and like
Yeah.
who's good. I mean, I could just do like a basic ranking, but I know when they came in and Midge had her trophy out and everyone's like, oh, I can touch it because I've won in the past. Like, I don't know all those dynamics. So I would like to learn more about like who's on which team and what the dynamics are between them and who's the real rivalry, like that kind of stuff. And I want a little sexual tension, no? And
Absolutely.
I need some tears. I need someone being like, my boyfriend sucks, and they go, let's all help you break up with your boyfriend. That's what I need. A little camaraderie. That's what I need.
Yeah, I think it's what they're trying to do is very difficult. After I watched the first two episodes, I'm like, this is super interesting. This is not what I expected. They're having real conversations, but at the same point in time, of course, every viewer's like, who's going to make out? Who's going to get hammered? Who's going to break down? So they're 30-minute episodes. My one critique is this: they should absolutely be hour. It should be an hour
Oh
show.
yeah,
You're
hanging out.
just getting invested and then it stops. But again, this is the first season. So I think, you know, hour episodes, and if you did an hour, you could give me 10 minutes of drama. I don't need any more. I don't need Trash Festival. I don't need Housewives.
Mhm.
But yeah, I would say turn up the drama a little, but then everything else they're knocking it out of the park. I think they're
Yeah.
doing such an awesome job, and the storytelling is fantastic. And I love all of these women. And now I'm more invested in these players and in these teams, and that's the whole point.
Yeah.
Bridget McManus, everyone, follow her on the socials. She's always so fun and ridiculous to talk to. I love her so much. Episode 3 of the off season airs this Friday, November 1st on Twitter. So tune in, support these women. It's a good time. Okay, people, it's time for the feel-good moment of the week, and it is Jonquel Jones winning her first WNBA championship with the New York Liberty and taking home the finals MVP hardware, which was so well-deserved. She is such a dynamic player. She's so fun to watch. I mean, she does it all. I mean, she can dunk, block shots, post up, drain threes, and just dribble down the court with ease. And her backstory is so feel-good. Okay, so she grows up in the Bahamas, super close-knit family, supportive community. But by the time she was a teenager, her basketball skills were like unmatched. There simply wasn't enough competition for her to get better. So she winds up getting an offer to come to the United States to play for the famed coach, Diane Richardson. So she takes this huge leap, right? And at such a young age, she leaves her family and friends to pursue what she loved, the game of basketball. I mean, just think about this. The amount of strength and courage and perseverance it took to get where she is today is extraordinary. So, just a huge thank you to Jonquel for all the sacrifices, because honestly, it is pure joy watching you play. Congrats on the big win. Congrats on the MVP. Let's go, Liberty. And that is our show, everybody. Thank you so much for all your support on the road and just listening to this weekly podcast. Huge favor. You got to subscribe, rate, and review. I'm going to be saying this every single episode. It makes such a difference on my end as we build out a future Patreon page and ad sales. And it's a labor of love, and I'd love to just get more listeners and spread the word. So if you could go on Apple or Spotify, subscribe, rate, review, that would be a huge help. New York City, November 9th, 7 p.m. at the Green Room 42. All the information, of course, is on herlights.com. Fans, friends, family, have the best week of your life.